Welcome to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Kiriakou, and this is the podcast that aims to help people within the recruitment industry get 1% better after every single episode. We've had such a wide variety of different guests that come on the show that talk openly about their stories, about sharing value, tools, techniques, strategies, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all within the recruitment space. And every single episode, we like to have as much fun as possible with open conversation back and forth. It's not scripted, it's uncensored. And as I mentioned, I like to have fun doing this podcast because I know that if you're going to tune into this, you want to feel like you're part of a conversation whilst also leveling up your game within the recruitment space. So if you like this podcast, please do us all a favour. Comment, like, subscribe, follow on all the platforms. It really helps drive engagement for the show. And yeah, that's enough from me. Let's get into this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy. Cool. All right, Sam, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. For people that may or may not know you, your background, kind of what you do, the markets you operate in, etc., just tell us a little bit about you, mate.
Yeah, so I'm Sam Green, co-founder, COO of Few&Far. We've been going for 12 years. We do digital product recruitment, so we cover really four core things: product management, which is, I would say, what we're most known for, engineering, data, and go-to-market. And we operate across Europe and more recently the US.
Nice, happy days. So as you know, obviously prior to recording this, I was with an ex-employee of yours, and I don't know if we did this on the actual episode or after when we were speaking, but people probably don't know how many times I've actually tried to contact you. And a most recent message from Reese where you said he's a fucking animal, and I love it. But maybe you can tell the listeners, seeing as like my whole shtick is business development, and I always tell people don't go linear, you got to try various different aspects. But yeah, how many fucking times have I tried to get in touch with you?
A lot. And to be fair, I think what I'm good at is just keeping people at arm's length, and I don't do it in a malicious way. I don't think you ever should, but it's a skill I've picked up to be like, I'm okay saying no.
Yeah.
You know, so but yeah, when Reese messaged me, I was like, oh, fucking hell, all right. So that's good.
I was saying to Reese, I was like, I gave the analogy of you guys to a client yesterday.
Okay.
And I was like, it even got to the point where I noticed that Eleanor, who I've had a conversation with before I got into L&D, we're friends on Instagram, and I recognised Nick's face. I was like, is that the co-founder from Few&Far? So I'm like messaging her on Instagram. She was like, you should speak to Sam, I'm like, there are just like levels of like going into the fucking trenches, trying to get in there, cold calling the office number, like just, yeah, crazy.
No, fair effort.
But nice. No, I appreciate you taking the time today.
What I think it shows though is that the easiest win was just someone I know. Yeah,
that's exactly what we spoke about on the last episode, is that, look, you can cold call, and like obviously when I set my business up, like didn't really have much of a network in recruitment, so it was quite challenging. You had to make a lot of cold calls, whereas now, after I've recorded 50-60 episodes of the pod, and like I've been to many exhibitions, it's just a case of just name dropping people, and that's how you open doors. But look, in terms of things we'll speak about, you mentioned the celebrity experience. People probably listening to that going, what the fuck are you guys talking about? We'll go into that because that's the thing that you guys talk about here. The operational side of running the business, the sales side of running the business, and we'll talk about the trials and tribulations of pre-pandemic, peri and post-pandemic, and how you've navigated that, because a lot of businesses I've worked with in the tech markets, like we were saying outside, just all of a sudden no business because we're in a pandemic, and all of a sudden just 200% business, and then like crash again. So it'd be really interesting to kind of dive into how you guys have navigated that. So the first thing then, the celebrity experience. Tell us.
I think for context, what we were talking about was, it's been a rough few years, and I think what we've always done is have a real lens on like giving clients what we call an engaging experience. But we've really had to like level that up into a celebrity experience. And what we mean by that is like, how do we make everyone feel VIP, super special? We've had to really double down on that over the last like couple of years when the market's been really tough. And I think now we're seeing that really pay off, as probably a lot of people are. There's not one size fits all with that. It's just, I feel like it's all the peripheral stuff outside of like traditional sales that you do that. And what I mean by that is, it's very obvious to like continue to call people
Yeah.
Continue to reach out to your clients or potential clients.
Yeah.
But what else can you do, and how can you do it systemically and in a rhythm and with a set of cadence that makes sure everyone's doing it at the same pace and at the same time, so that there's continual touch points everywhere. So I think we've done a lot there over the last maybe 3 years that have set us to where we are now, which is like things are good. So that's like the picture of what I mean by celebrity.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where you said about like having everyone kind of doing some similar activities at the same time and stuff, I know a lot of founders and business owners or like managing directors, etc., that really struggle to get everyone in the office doing BD sprints at the same time, and a bunch of consultants are getting more wins from their email automation campaigns, whereas some people are getting more from taking clients out for beers or for coffees, etc. How do you navigate an office where you've got a variety of different types of personalities that maybe some people don't want to do a cold calling sprint, or some people don't want to post on LinkedIn? How do you navigate that?
Killer question. I think we have a set of expectations. Okay, I need to lay this. So what we've done at the very top end is built out a robust process and framework so that when people get promoted, they have to follow the expectations that we've set. And I think traditionally those expectations in our industry are build this amount of money, you'll get promoted, or build this and do that. That could be like win 5 clients or whatever. And what we've done is we've massively layered that with a set of expectations. So it might be, again, I'm making this up, it might be host 2 events, get 10 Google reviews, like a set of expectations and behaviours and things we want to see. So we are hindering people's promotion, but what it's doing in turn is it's making everyone sing from the same page. So that's what we're doing at the top of the pyramid. What we give is autonomy, right? So we have, like, if we think about a BD sprint, we do those. Everyone does those, and if you don't, like, you're missing something. But the reality is, it doesn't always work to plan. Like maybe someone has got tons of roles and they're at capacity, and actually they need to utilise that time to do delivery. So I think it comes with a level of like being mature about the circumstance as well. So I think we have the processes that people can follow, including the BD sprints, but giving people autonomy to manage themselves, but with the framework that we're reviewing our teams every week and we're working closely with them to make sure they're achieving their results. So that's how we balance it.
Yeah, and when you track KPIs or some of the things that you just mentioned there, obviously some businesses have like analytics tools. Some people focus mainly on CVs, interviews, jobs, for example. You mentioned there a little bit about Google reviews, events and stuff. Not a lot of businesses really focus on some of those things. I think they're a little bit more of the longer term type of things. But I think a lot of people listening to this that maybe are either thinking of starting their own business or running their own business that don't really track, don't really inspect on some of that stuff. It'd be interesting to kind of know a little bit about how you do that, what specifically you do when it comes to those inspections and stuff.
When you say inspections, what do you mean?
On just like the, when you were mentioning about to get promoted, you're looking at specific data sets, whether that is just CVs, interviews, jobs, or events. How do you go about inspecting on those things, and what things specifically are we talking about?
Okay, so I think I get what you're saying. So what we do, so we put in place a tool called Hi Bob. It's an HR platform, and we built into that a really robust like review process. So every month as managers, we're sitting down saying, how are you doing? Let's look at the stats. That's like the stats is one layer of it.
Yep.
The sort of sub layer is how are you doing versus your promotional criteria. Because if you don't always talk about it, it becomes a peripheral thought that people don't have. Yeah. So we are always talking about it. Always.
Nice.
That's layered with our company vision, our values. Like it's all layered in there. So we're constantly forcing the agenda. Doesn't mean we're always doing it perfectly, but the agenda is constantly there. We do company weekly get-togethers, company monthly get-togethers. Guess what? Same agendas that is happening. So it's like subconscious planting. I can't remember the name of the film. There's that Will Smith film where, I can't remember the name now, but he basically subconsciously plants information into people's minds.
Okay.
It's like gambling film, and it's kind of similar. I've got the name of it now.
Oh, Christ. Is it with Margot Robbie?
Yes.
Damn,
you know the one I mean?
I know the one you mean.
It's a great film. I guess the process is kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
It's subconsciously planting, as well as consciously planting, like the behaviours and expectations that we believe are what make us successful and recruiters.
Yeah.
Then changes the way people do the job and the attitude they have to the job.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. It's not how everyone will do it. You know, I can argue heavily, like if you're S3 and you take an approach like they will, they'll get just as good, if not better results. But what we do works for us. I think it changes the job from just being like transactional to actually more enjoyable. Yeah. Like back in the day, I used to be an estate agent. That was my first job. The part I loved was getting out, seeing houses, doing valuations, meeting people, right? It wasn't being on the phone in the office trying to get people to go to see a listing. And I think it's similar. It's like get out to events, push people for whatever the things we want to see are. So that's how we do it.
Yeah. I see a lot of businesses now, one way or the other. There's barely any that are in the middle. One way is the 100 dials a day in the office. There's no point meeting a candidate. You've got Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. And then you see some businesses that you go to an office and there's barely anyone in because they're all out for coffees and beers and events and stuff. Yeah. And I always believe that there's a healthy balance, because I remember the times when I used to travel like all across Europe to like Barcelona and Amsterdam and all the rest of it, to events and client meetings. And in between traveling, like you can't make those sales calls. You can't be like deep in LinkedIn projects and stuff. It's really tough. So I think there is a balance there. But if you look through a lot of the episodes that I've done, and I don't know whether this is just my bias showing, and maybe it's because I'm quite old school in my approach, but in tune with the new school, I'm a firm believer in relationships over anything. It's a very difficult thing to try and scale a business, and I'd like to get your opinion on that in a second. But when it comes to like the meetings element, you mentioned there that you guys try and push a lot for that and for events. I'd love to hear kind of like your experiences on, you know, especially during the pandemic when you couldn't do a lot of face-to-face stuff, like coming out of that when you are now able to go and meet people face-to-face, like what actual impact has that had on the business?
So look, everyone's targeted on meetings. It's one of the core sort of 5 KPIs we have. Are we knocking it out of the park as much as I would like? I don't think we are. I think I would argue that's partly because we're really busy and like we're just not getting as much of it done because maybe we're doing other things in the role. Yeah. But I mean, I built my entire career being out of the office fundamentally, and so as my business partner Nick, and it's something we drill into people. If people aren't doing that, they're missing what this job's all about for me. You know, if people aren't doing that, we will push all those roles out to South Africa or the Philippines. We don't need you. And it sounds brutal, but what we need is the conviction of character that people have when they're out meeting people, building relationships, playing the long game, that celebrity experience. Like it's wowing people because they appreciate you've taken the time to meet them, which is like you're beating 80% of the industry just by going to meet someone. Yeah. And are you adding consultative value when you're meeting them? And I think you can't do that if you're just phone-based, or you can't do it very well. Everyone would be like, well, we're remote, like that's fine. Sorry, I don't buy it. Yeah. Like you need to meet people. You can't, it's like, I don't know, it's like if you have a pen pal, right? Like lovely, great feeling. I've not had one, but like I'm assuming. But it will sure feel better if you meet them in real life. It's the same principle.
100%.
So anyone that's not doing that or pushing that agenda with their team, you're missing the trick.
I spoke to a recruiter yesterday. Both him and the other delivery consultant on that team are polar opposite personalities. One's 80% fluff, 10% commercial and direct. One's 80% more direct over commercial because he's quite new, but 10-15% fluff. And he was like, don't like small talk, don't give a fuck, they don't care about me, I don't care about them. And I was like, right, not every recruiter cares about their candidates and clients deeply, right? But if you can just show that you do give, half a fuck, right? You are immediately the 1% of the recruiters, because a lot of candidates and clients, let's go with clients. How many times do your clients get badgered by recruiters? Yep. A lot. A recruiter that says, let me take you for coffee, let me buy you lunch, we're hosting an event, we'd like for you to come and speak there, or we'd like to give you a ticket, complimentary ticket, come to the event, we'll meet you, immediately you are separated from however many other recruiters that are just phone bashing. And don't get me wrong, I like a bit of phone bashing every now and then, but it's that face-to-face stuff, the 5-dimensional, the 5 senses of meeting someone, shaking someone's hand, all the rest of it is power. But something you said that I want to pick up on, because this is real power, is that consultative value. You can go out and meet a client and yeah, you can play the long game, you can have a coffee and you can talk about kids and Warzone and all the rest of it, fantastic. But if you're not offering any consultative value, I think that can it's not a waste of time. I just think there's a lot more value you can get out of that face-to-face meeting. So when you say add in consultative value, I think it's really interesting for a lot of people listening to that. What does that actually mean?
Look, I'm sure there's more than 2 parts to it, but in my head 2 things come up. So I think the first part of consultative value for me is actually maybe I'd use it as like the buying value. So people warming to you. Like, I had no idea you played Warzone. I play Warzone. Yeah. We both can vibe with Warzone now. Yeah. Now we've got this mutual common ground that I'm sure will come up in conversations, right? That in itself for me is consultative, because it's bringing that level of like personalization to conversation. So barriers are now lower, right? That's number one. But second thing is, without really meeting people and having those lower barriers, you struggle to get into the weeds of what's really going on for people, for your client. You know, what is the true problem they're facing? What's the impact if something's not done in terms of a hire or whatever it is the candidate? So that's where I think part 2 comes in, which is the barriers are down. You can truly coach and engage people about what your experience is on and how you can actually add value to the problem they have. I think that's much harder when you don't have those barriers broken down.
I agree.
So I think for me, like, I would put it into those 2 things. I'm sure there's like a framework and there's more, but like the best relationships generally are where you know someone and it's beyond surface level, and people trust you and share vulnerably like what's going on for them. And I think clients would do that if you can get out to meet them. The challenge, I think, is people are scared to ask the question, or don't feel like they're adding value by asking the question of like, hey, can we meet? You know, and I totally get that, because it can be awkward. So generally for us, it's got to be like a reason we're asking it. You know, like there needs to be some substance behind it. And that could be like so many different directions. But, you know, if we're talking to a potential client, like, it's a non-negotiable we're meeting you. You know, we often get them to come in here. We actually say, like, come into the office, come and meet our team, come and understand us. I mean, the buy we get by doing that.
Massive. Do you ever host interview days here?
No.
Is it? Do you do a lot of UK recruitment, or is it mainly like?
No, we do. We don't do in 2 days. Maybe it's a good idea, but no, we don't do that. But you know, we could go to clients' offices, and it's easier for them. But you'd be surprised; they're actually very happy to get out of the office. Generally.
100%.
And I think when they come in here, they can sense who we are. And like, again, it just breaks down, but it becomes personal.
Yes, 100%.
And that is this game.
Yeah, we used to say because when I was a leader at not my last business, the leader company before, we used to push people that any candidate you send out, minimum expectation is you jump on a Teams with them, right? Every client you work with, minimum expectation is a Teams, because we dealt a lot with Europe and field salespeople that it's difficult. Sometimes they would say, I'm free to meet in person, but it'll be in 2 weeks. And it's like, well, we'll do that, but let's jump on a Teams now and get the process rolling, right? We ran some data when I worked at a company called Projectors. We did medtech sales reps. And I think we had something like a 90+% fill rate. No, lie, 100% fill rate for every client that interviewed in our office. If you think about it logically, right? Sometimes a client will interview, then you'll call them, and then they're on a sales call, they're on doing this, that, and the other, and then it's like by the time you've got feedback, they've digested it, and they go, actually, do you know what? Charles and Sam probably weren't right. Let's go back to the drawing board. So what we would do is we would do the interviews, and we would sit in the room, in the corner, making notes on the interview, coach the clients through the interview after by doing the interview feedback and saying, notice how you asked that question, this is what you could have done better, blah, blah, blah. Then we give our commercial recruitment advice and value around, we think this person would be a good fit, or this person won't be a good fit for this reason, that reason. Get the feedback there and then, book the next stage there and then, and it's all done. And on top of that is they're meeting everyone. This person does the German market, this person does the Benelux, this person does the US. Here's the founder, here's the founder's wife. Let me make you a cup of coffee. And then by the end of the day, we worked in a WeWork pre-pandemic when it was vibey. beer taps are open from like 3 p.m. So it's just like, let's have a few beers. Then they get quite loose and they're just like, oh, you know, this, that and the other. And it was just incredible. And then we looked at the data on clients met in person in comparison to remote or just phone based. And it was something like a 75% fill rate of clients met in person that were actually looking to hire. Yeah. It's like a proven thing. And going back to what you said around people saying, thinking that it's a bit awkward and stuff like that. One thing I notice a lot with recruiters when I'm coaching them is how they ask it. They don't realise the benefit for the client. They're going, I feel a bit cheeky asking, like, what's the point? I'm a 21-year-old recruiter, been doing the job 3 months. Why should they meet me? And it's like, you're putting yourself down, man. People put in the one thing I'm really passionate about and why I set this podcast up is I'm sick and tired of people putting the job of a recruitment consultant down. How many people's lives have we fucking changed? How many businesses have we helped grow? Like, if you ask the question, like, let me take you for coffee, let me introduce you to the people in our company, show you how we work. That is a given. This is our process. This is what we do, and the data will suggest that we can, fill this role much quicker, etc. Like, just a quick one from me, guys. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode. But as you probably know, the way that I fund this podcast is through my coaching business. So just a little bit of information around that, because you or someone that you might know might find some value in this. But I work with recruitment agencies, recruitment businesses within a range of 1 to 100 heads that are looking to scale, grow, and ultimately want to upskill both founder level, recruiter level, and everything in between. And I offer a wide variety of different services, from one-to-one coaching, group coaching, training academies, business development training, creating company handbooks, and I'm looking to do a lot more webinars, and I'm looking to add as much value as I possibly can. But in order for me to keep doing this podcast, I need to make a living, I need to pay my mortgage, and I can only do that through my coaching business. Really difficult doing it by yourself, but I love doing it, and I add a lot of value to recruiters and recruitment businesses. So if that sounds like something that you'd potentially be interested in, if you're someone that's passionate about personal and professional development, my details are below in this podcast. That's enough from me. Let's get into the rest of this week's episode.
I raised earlier about having a seat at the table much. I think it's like the value we add is so significant, but for numerous reasons the industry's got a reputation. I just want to add, and maybe someone will find this valuable. We did have a situation the other day, a big enterprise client of ours, where we were hiring 2 directors for them. And the suggestion we made to them was, let's hire a hotel, like really nice hotel, meeting room, and we'll book all the interviews there. We'll send them like a big pack with the whole thing. So the client spent the money on it, but then the preferential candidate they would put up overnight and then do dinner with, and the secondary one they'd do breakfast with.
Interesting.
So they wouldn't both know that they're both there, but one would go for dinner and one would go for breakfast. It was a super interesting play, but actually they hired 2 candidates for these 2 different roles, and it worked really well. And like all the candidates were like, look, we got enough notice about it so we could book it. It was a really interesting play. It kind of showed that the company was a bit of a powerhouse because they could do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was whopper fees for us. The client loved it. Like it worked a treat. So, a slightly different way of doing things, but I think the point is still resonant in what you're saying. Like, it stands you out. It's different. Getting them like with you. We were also in the hotel at the time, making sure it was all facilitated well. And it goes above and beyond. That is more of a celebrity experience for me.
Yeah, mate, 100%. I don't think enough recruiters do enough of that type of stuff, like thinking outside of the box. Because in my last job when I was the head of L&D, I got access to a load of training documentations for some of the biggest IT recruitment companies in the world. And obviously,
you're going to share them?
Off camera. So as you can imagine, a lot of it was quite archaic, right? So it's from years ago, and a lot of things have changed. Like, there was nothing to do with personal branding, nothing to do with AI, nothing to do with any of that. And a lot of it that I didn't resonate with was that old-fashioned, everyone in the office, 9 to 5, well, obviously not 9 to 5, you know what I mean, bashing the phones. And there was nothing about this outside the box thinking of like hosting interview days in the office, or like you said, booking out hotel rooms and stuff. And I think a lot of recruitment companies and recruiters miss the trick by, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to recruitment. It's not rocket science. It's a very simple job. You find a person for a job and vice versa. But how can you do it in a slightly different way to make them feel like a celebrity? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways to think about it.
I often think about the job and I think we're like community matchmakers. It's like what we do, and I feel like we do a lot around events, and I mean it's not new now. I genuinely would say we were one of the first out of the box of events. Like, it's why me and Nick left our last business 12 years ago, 13 years ago. because they didn't want to do events. And we were like, this is the future. And we've always been instilled in community. And I really feel so strongly, if you can build a community, and it's more than, if you're doing just events, you're already too late. It's evolving, right? But if you're building community, the community will do the work for you. And then what happens, if we talk a bit about business development, is you get this one-to-many approach where your community is doing the work for you. The community is telling their friend, oh, you need to talk to Few&Far, or you're looking to hire a product person. Few&Far, they run this community. That's how we do much of our business. So much of it comes to us from the work that we do outside of just matching candidates and clients. And if there's one message I can get to anyone that's trying to do this, it would be that. But I also want to go back to a question. I want to be the podcast host for a second.
Go for it.
I want to go to a question for you, which is, you're right about the training. It is so archaic, and there's a few trainers. There's a few trainers I know and rate, and that we've used over the years, and there's others who I wouldn't wish on anyone. But what are you noticing? Because this game moves so fast, and I think there's this baseline of training, and I'm not even talking about rookies. It's a really hard job, I think, for a rookie these days. But how are you upskilling people now that are pre-pandemic recruiters into what we're walking into in this world now?
To be honest, like I said earlier about you don't have to reinvent the wheel. One thing I have noticed is those old school basics that still hold true to today are lacking. And what I mean by that is people are like, what you just said there, I hear a lot of people, I get a lot of business come to me, I get a lot of business off of my email campaigns, and I'm building communities and stuff. And then you look at their numbers and you're like, okay, where's your next job coming from? And they can't tell me. And the reason why is because they don't have a fucking clue when it comes to a simple business development strategy. They haven't got a clue.
Yep.
So for me, my old sales director, who is only a couple of years older than me, is fucking incredible. He used to sit there and say, where's your next job coming from? And if I couldn't tell him, he would look through the data on Cube19 and all sorts and go, you don't have enough leads. You're not chasing enough leads. Your long-term list is great, but realistically, the ones that you told me about, they're not going to drop for at least another 3 months. So realistically, in the next... I hope you're enjoying the episode so far, guys. If you like short-form content and want to see clips of prior episodes, episodes that are about to launch, or episodes that have just recently launched, you can see so many clips on my TikTok. It'll be coming up on the screen right now. It's just charles.kiriakou on TikTok, and I upload 30 to 90-second clips at least 5 times a week. So if you see a clip on there and you go, actually, do you know what, that sounds like a wicked episode, you can just simply go on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube to see that episode and then watch the full episode. But yeah, I'm trying to upload a lot more on TikTok, so if you could give me a little follow over there and just check out the clips and give me some feedback, that'd be hugely appreciated. And just one more thing as well, if you're getting this far into the episode and you haven't liked or you haven't followed or subscribed or anything like that, you're going to miss out on so many good episodes. We have so many good guests that have already come on, that are coming on, so please make sure you're following, subscribed, etc. Oh, and finally, I have a newsletter that it comes out every single month so you don't miss any of the episodes. So follow on all those areas, and yeah, let's get into the rest of the months. So you need to get bang on the lead gen right now, get some leads, chase them, and that'll be your short term. And the long term stuff, that's going to be what's going to carry you through. So you've got to have a healthy mix of the both. A lot of recruiters these days don't have a fucking Scooby when it comes to lead gen.
Yep.
They have not a Scooby when it comes to lead chasing, and their lead chasing process, Sam, is I've called them a couple of days a week and I've not got anything. I've spec'd a CV out that's not targeted and specific and personalised. The personalisation is, hey Sam, I see at Few&Far. That's not fucking personalisation. Yeah. A lot of people are turning off from that now because it looks like AI. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's teaching people a methodology and a philosophy around how to generate good quality leads, not just, oh yeah, Few&Far are hiring a recruiter. What are they hiring? Like, it's information gathering. That for me is everything in recruitment is information gathering. You build a relationship and you gather a shitload of information, you keep close to that person and you have eyes and ears on every aspect of the market. If you keep building those relationships and know when companies are actively hiring and when they will be hiring, and you foster those relationships, and the analogy I always give is like, the longer term stuff is like watering your potatoes and your crops outside. The longer term stuff is going for a 5-day hike and then and hunting for a deer, and that's like your big juicy like leads that you're chasing, right? It's a bit of a weird analogy, but it works sometimes. that's something that I see that's really, really lacking. I've started to learn a little bit more about how we can utilize AI and stuff like that. My humble opinion around AI is that in the space of recruitment, this should be used to save you time and remove administrative tasks and things like that. That's my opinion. I think it could change. When you see companies that rely on AI automation as their BD process, I think in a few years' time, look, I could be dead wrong on this. I think in a few years' time, when every other agency gets on that bandwagon, how are you differentiating yourself when everything's fucking AI? Do you know what I mean? That's a bit of a rant there, but I could go on that for ages.
But you know what, it's timely, right? Because we wanted to talk a bit about operational stuff. I think in our industry, and I'm by no means an AI expert, let me just clarify that. I think in our industry though, we're very aware of it because a lot of us are placing in it. And so there's a big boom.
Yeah.
But the reason we're replacing in it is because the roles that we're placing will be replaced.
Yeah.
And so we also can't be blindsided by the same narrative we've always shared, which is our roles are not replaceable. Recruitment will be there for some time, but will we as founders need the same level of headcount as we currently do? I don't think we will. And if we take AI as an example, I think most people will look at AI and think ChatGPT, it can write really good outreach, it can do, basic stuff. But only, this week, last week, agentic AI has been brought into ChatGPT. I don't know if you know much about agentic AI.
I saw a little bit about it.
And, I play with AI every day. And I play with agentic AI. And I can tell you now, it can already scrape for leads. But you can set it up, I've done it. It can give me pretty much real-time lead data with the right information that I need to start doing stuff. That is right now, there's already businesses that are overlaying that stuff with what they can do, and we're using some of those tools. And so I think it's really important that we embrace what is possible. And I think a lot of recruitment companies think they know a bit about AI and are barely touching the surface, or think that we're irreplaceable, and we're not. And so if we can operationally set ourselves up for success, we can reduce our headcount, we can reduce our cost base, but we can get far more out of stuff by utilizing AI. So anyway, I've gone off on piece a little bit, or gone off piece, should I say, but I don't think automation, if people are thinking automation is just sending an email and it's 3 or 4 touch campaign. I think SourceWow are quite well known for this stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's behind. I think it's behind the curve. They won't like me saying it. I generally do. We don't use SourceWow. I don't need it. There's other things now that you can do that are way better.
Yeah. If I were to flip the question on you then, in terms of pre-pandemic recruiters, maybe, you've obviously got some pre-pandemic recruiters in your business, what do you focus on when upskilling those guys? Because I've obviously mentioned that a lot of pre-pandemic recruiters have kind of slipped when it comes to the basics.
Yeah.
And that's something that I focus on a lot, with a modern touch on it, obviously, because I'm not that archaic. But what do you guys do?
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Save time. Where can we spot any areas of what you do where you can cut out time wastage? And there's a lot of it. And AI can be a big part of that, right?
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as time wasted in interview prep, for example.
Okay.
It can be painful to figure out a good interview prep. A lot of places don't do good interview prep. We're really hot at this stuff to make sure we get the best chance of success. So certainly time wastage. I think the second thing is we've, as a business, I think we've powered the team up with the right tools. Not everything, because we're still careful with what we spend. It's so easy to just buy everything, but with the right tools. And the way we've done our, I'm going to say business development, but the relationship stuff, we often talk about a one-to-many approach. I don't know if that's terminology that we use, or if it's have you come across
one-to-many?
Okay, cool. So that makes me feel better. So for us, a one-to-many approach is one relationship that can open many doors. So let's use a simple example of knocking out the park in a venture capital relationship so that they are introducing you to their portfolio.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, money, and energy on those relationships where we're adding significant value to them. And I won't give you all the details of what we do, because that's, I guess, some of the secrets of how we operate. But we add significant value to the one that they then become fans of what we do and share proudly, you need to trust these guys.
Yeah.
You know, just this morning we had a pitch to a fairly large UAE focused business where a well-known venture capital company and one of their managing partners was like, you need to talk to Few&Far. These guys know exactly what they're doing, blah, 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 blah. We go on that call not having to pitch. We literally don't have to pitch. We just say, this is how we operate, and we share our experience. And that approach has worked. So sort of going back to your question, what we've instilled is pre-pandemic, I think it was like quite an old school way of working, like traditional recruitment. Things have changed so fast, and I think the one-to-many approach is the best way to gather business, as well as using, you know, tools or AI to point us in the direction of where opportunity is, as well as going old school and, you know, circumnavigating your leads and all those things. Like, you have to do them all.
It's all of it.
But the problem is, I think, is that the role is very overwhelming. Like, there's so much in our job to do that it sort of goes back to that time problem, right? It's like, I don't know about anyone else, like I'm completely overwhelmed right now. Like, what do you do? What's next? Where do you turn? And so trying to be like pinpoint razor or laser focused, razor sharp, laser focused is it's very hard. And I think people are getting burnt out much quicker because of the amount of overwhelm and just pure information coming at us.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balancing act. And I think just on that point, you know, we're very considered with people's well-being.
This was something I was going to touch on.
Yeah, we're very considered with it. I think as business owners, you want everyone to be making you money at all times, but I don't know. It's like playing a striker, you know, every game, and then expecting them to play every game in the World Cup as well. Like they're just not going to be match fit.
Yep.
So we really encourage everyone and spot as best as we can problems before they arise in people. You can just tell.
Yeah, I had rows with my old founders in my last company because I did a mental health first aider course, and I've had my ups and downs with mental health, and I think it's a very important aspect of the job. And I always used to say to them that, look, happy consultants will bill more. The more miserable they are, the more burnt out they are, the more you push them. Like, there was one guy, he's been on my podcast, he'd never done cybersecurity before. He was the first person they hired in the German market. He did a 75k month. He was a global top biller that year, and they grilled him because he should have done 100k. He was like 250% of target. And he burnt the fuck out. And then after I left, he called me and was like, I'm leaving. I just can't do this anymore. And they just used to like take the piss out of me for going like, oh, be happy. Oh, I'm like, guys, like you're missing the trick. You're being so short-term focused, and you're just redlining every single consultant, and you're going to lose people. And they did. They were like 60 plus heads. They're like maybe 10 push now. Crazy. And that, for me, going back to the conversation we were talking about, like the pre-pandemic recruiters, that the hybrid of the new school and the old school, like we've just spoke about, but also a lot of these people, like, you know, I'm 31, and a lot of my friends don't know tools and tactics on how to manage anxiety. A lot of people, they might put a facade on when it comes to confidence, but they're not really winning a lot of business because they don't know how to present themselves in the right possible way. And I think a lot of recruitment companies miss a trick with, oh, we want to get someone in. Like, I get asked all the time to come in and do business development training or headhunt training and stuff. And I look through people and I give this analogy of like opening the hood and diagnosing and analysing what the issues are in the business. And I'm like, you guys have got a bit of a confidence issue here. Like, we've got people in the room that they need to work on who they are and how they can get their USPs across to their clients. Like, how do we tap into their individual unique strengths? You've got to realise that you can't, like, for me, I don't want to say awful. I was not great when it came to doing LinkedIn project searches and scraping job boards and the database and doing Booleans. I hated it. I found it so boring. I hired someone to